And welcome back to the date. Today is now December 7th, 2022. It is now 11:11 a.m. Say your prayers. I'll say them with you. Make your wishes and may they come true in the truth. So we're just going to continue the rest of our post. Of course, thank you for tuning in once again. I'm almost up to my 400 subscribers up in Getter. And it's like amazing because, once again, it's not just about the numbers as much as the message, right? So I do appreciate all of you who do check in and tune in. And yeah, I'm just here to give you the information, right? But nowadays, everybody's got to be on the watch, right? But that's what part of it is all about. The big picture, of course, we're talking about finding or getting to know, I'd say it would be the better term, God personally, right? So there are lots of changes going on. And by the time now you're seeing this episode, merry undeadening season greetings, eh? Because right now hey, when was the last time you heard something about Christmas? Remember those days, right? I know, I saw some social media with the old, what do you call, was it Baskin Rankin? You know what I'm talking. Stop motion, right? Stop motion animation of the '60s. But they used to have these puppets of Santa Claus and also Frosty the Snowman. Stop motion. I was starting to think it was not Bas. It's not Baskin and Robbins, but it's Rankin. Rankin, right? But I don't want to look that up now. Right now, I want to continue the show because we got some things to discuss since you have to kick back, you have to take a step, and you just got to be chill and you got to observe, right? And what I've been discovering, and at least in the last few weeks, and of course thank you for all you folks out there who sent out the condolences to Starman, continuing, of course, always resting in power. No, probably being and living in power. That is still power, right? Power to power. So, by the fruits you will know them. An interview with Professor Matthias Desma, I would recommend you take a look on. That's up on Odyssey. These are things of concern. And I say things because these things, a lot of it we call science, we call it philosophy, we call it medicine, we call it, doctorates and everything. So there are some revelations going on right now that are tripping people out. Don't forget, these folks were around for a minute, right? So part of the truth, and I'm not trying to go with the, how we say, the religious issue, because that's also big, but notice how everything rises up and it calms down, it rises up and calms down. So these kids here, at its peak, the Hitler Youth Organization in Germany boasted over 8 million members, right? Do the math here. 8 million members, right? That's the peak. The Belief in Beauty Society for females 17 to 21 was a tie-in between the League of German Girls and the Nazi Frauenschaft. Frauenschaft. So let's take this is for educational purposes only, always on the date. Thank you for tuning in. The League of German Girls, Bund Duster Mädel, BDM, right? Was the female section of Hitler Youth. Its role was to indoctrinate girls into the beliefs and ideals of the Nazi regime. The BDM focused on developing girls into women who were dedicated to Nazism, dutiful housewives, and whose role within society was to become a mother. Girls were to grow up with an unquestioning understanding of the intended role of women in the Third Reich. BDM members who were required to have German parents, be in good health, and conform to Nazi racial ideals. So there's a few documentaries out there if you want to take a look, once again, for educational. Now hold on a second. You see that Negro back there? Isn't that like your doctor or somebody's doctor or somebody's grandparent? They're fine people, right? That's what they always say. That's and yeah, I guess we had some good outcome. Maybe the spawn, whoever if they ever had grandchildren. You know what I find interesting with this little snippet? This is teaching a society of people, folks, to like how to be men and how to be women. Now, I said before in previous posts, yeah, it's true. The world is a stage, and everything is kind of reverse, inverse, reversed. Everything is versed. It's all what do you call it? Extraversed. And look out, I'm going to be playing my Spider Verse on some of my blogs because I got Miles Morales. I highly recommend it, and I learned about modding. Anyway, but get back to this, right? Right. So I'm just saying it's interesting because these kids here, and these became our future whatever politicians, call it what you want. She looks like Greta, right? Right? But this this vibe that we're living through now, this shit's not new, right? So here we are today, and while people love to say, "Oh, it's been such a long time, it's been forever," but it's been my grandparents, right? Everybody, well, maybe not anymore, but there was a time we used to have grandparents, right? And they sort of, that was a society that was created, of course, also in the sense that, hey, look what they had to spawn. Like, what happens when you already are telling a society? That just goes to show how, like, look, you don't see, I was like, imagine if black people did this shit. No, we're busy like rabbits, and we're doing a complete 360 reverse. I'm not gonna get into that topic, but with the whole, yeah, like, yeah, we're the babies, right? We're the babies and all of that. Your choice, her choice, right? These kids, these niggas here had no choice. They were like, okay, you got to go to girls' school. Girls' school, you got to do gymnastics. And I'm like, wow. And maybe, isn't it weird? Because one would think this is all natural, right? But here they are, they're like, yeah, we learning to be good, and we got. They don't look like girls, I'm sorry. But they grew up eventually, and hey, once again, adopt, and then the whole, what do you call it? Yeah, tube thing. They've been doing that shit for a long time. Test tube babies, all that shit, the orphan kids. So this is part of the clue to solving the world's problems. We know that. But it doesn't mean we want, let's say, well, I'm not saying anything here, but potential future freaky people running the world today. Whoops. Let's take a look. Continue. I'm just saying, look, and then look at it again, and let's pretend that this was black people doing this shit. This is your bro, right? The date is right here. Once again, thank you. And thank you, Lord, for making it possible that we can tell some truth. But once again, I always say, have discernment. Right? The average bro. Anyway, I just have to laugh though. Isn't this like, I mean, it's like, I think it's funny because he's like, hey, this is back in the day when I had to learn how to be a man, right? And we had to learn how to be a woman. And today they're trying to say, oh, well, I want, it's, you know what? This is not new. It's just that you hadn't been around, and their great grandparents aren't going to tell you jack about this. You get it? Because that's how. And of course, hey, welcome to Hooray for Hollywood. It's kind of like the Africans, right? When you think about it, like you ever see the Africans do this? Yeah, sure. Every day the Africans did this. You know, we were forever that organized. The Israelites were never that organized. They try to narrate that. Is you see what I'm saying? This is where I'm going here. The bigger narrative of what is even written in scriptures. We got some bros out there trying to hijack that shit, right? But it's even not just one. It's a whole bigger narrative to the whole master disaster plan, right? Because you one thing I've noticed, if it was like the bros doing this, we'd say, okay, the bros are doing this shit, right? But no, it's these kids. Look at them. And once again, right? No beard here. But I'm just saying, right? This is like tomorrow's wives and warriors. So definitely check it out. We got and this is the trauma right there. You dig? Like this goes on generally. That's the generational curse on that side. I'm not going to get into all of the Esau thing and all of that. But if you look at the narrative, right? Good guys, bad guys. What blue versus green, whatever the frick, reds, right? Reds, Bloods, Crips, the original. Because niggas wasn't doing this shit. That's for sure. I think around this period in history, they were busy burning down the hood. They, meaning those guys in the hoods, white hoods, right? I'm just saying, just take some facts here from me. Like, that's traumatic. I'm sure while it might build some type of whatever, imagine if you're on, okay, we're gonna get deep here for a minute. Imagine you're on what they call hormones and all that shit. You're twisted, you're already dealing with maybe even the dysmorphia that your family has. Yeah, and I'm only talking like this because there's also the advocate for the folks that are born into this and they come out not like that, or they don't come out in that world, and hey, you survived, you pulled it off like Moses. You dig? Because they trying to say, well, we could make the narrative and pretend we're going to get rid of a Moses in our crew. We have defense, bang bang, beat up and look at that. It's the same thing today, but we've been weakened. And once again, if you go and check out the psychology of it, right? There's a lot of trauma. And you have to have discernment because there's always a camera. Camera always there. Like we could call it the first gang fight. Like organized. Let's see where this goes, right? Organized first OG bikers, grandfathers, right? That's what they look. And then the 50s happened, and then that shit was going on. Hey, we're gonna have a rumble. That's your rumble, right? And then after that, in the 60s, they biked up and now they're doctors. Like that old G nigga back in the doctor nigga, right? Hey, we used to so throw fucking thing. That's probably him right there. He was the first one. Remember this guy? Where is he? Pops. Where's Pops? Doctor, Doctor Crazy. Doctor Crazy. Look at me. wait, was that nigga right there? He probably was in the front. Look, look. Let's see. Let's re-examine this. But yeah, that's that. Look at it. That's him right there. You know, Bombaclat. No, no, no. So, hey, look, this is too funny. But right? But that's his take on it. Meanwhile, a lot of folks don't even look at how many Negroes out there, black people who was living in Germany, because yes, you had them too. How many of them were murdered during the Holocaust? So we're gonna pick our noses and then just take a look deep into that. Because yeah, there's some stuff that we never hear. But take a look at peep at this. Now this is somebody's great, if not still probably living at 90 grandmother. But highly likely, depending, this is what, 1938. This is the beginning of shit. So they, most likely not, but it's somebody's great grandparent going on. And once again, like I was telling you, now if you go back and check out my other post, it's about the Weetabix versus the Juno, right? And the Juno in this case here, right? This is the Weetabix. The Juno is that the Juno is that pregnant character in the movie played by some, or and if not some, played by an actor to portray a young, uh, what is it, young woman, like 18 plus apparently, I don't really know that age, where the mother, right, is young. But then, of course, the role could be now given to a performer who identifies as a transgender male, and that person probably could play Juno. I don't know how I'm just throwing that there. And then there's the Weetabix, who was the major, already originally born as a, a very healthy person with the physical and genetics to create life. What we would say, and that's a very convoluted expression, thought to just bring out, but a woman, that's it, a woman, right? So women could have been on high testosterone. We know that shit's coming out now because they said they've been through all those problems, right? But so this is some, right? So she's strong, but then next thing you know, so strong, he is Weetabix. Now then you're gonna say, who's Weetabix? Well, look up Weetabix, right? Because maybe Weetabix would have been she, but Weetabix said, you know what? I'm tired of being him on Weetabix, and now I'm back to her. So I'm just throwing this. This could be Weetabix today, like what Weetabix was really supposed to be. But Weetabix was telling us when Weetabix was winning gold medals, right? I can only use code. Right? I just wanted to take a step back because I just wanted to catch the. Yeah, there we go. So, okay, I'm just sipping some coffee here, but I just freeze that for whatever future comes up because they always talk about bone structure, right? And all this business. So I just wanted to freeze that. You got all of you out there can figure, and like I was talking about the Weetabix. The only reason why is I just don't want to go there. I don't want to use the real name. So Weetabix, Back in the 70s, you'd be like, what Weetabix? Okay, go back. Weetabix will tell you who is Weetabix back in the day. So maybe let's say this was Weetabix. I'm just throwing like it's not Weetabix, but because I know Weetabix was probably wasn't even born then. But before they started cloning them, right? Heard the word clone, 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 right? Code, 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 code. So they give enough of that tea, and next thing you know, it's Billy, right? Billy Johnson. So good. And then Billy says, you know what? Because everything is so deep, 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 deep. They say, well, I want to go back to being, of course, who I am, which was my great grandmother, or in this case, my grandmother, right? Anyway, I'm just throwing that at could be he, because now that's what it is today, right? So it's you got that's why the whole argument, the tea argument, don't buy into that. Even though I feel the population count now because of all the let's get rid of the you know the urge of sexual behavior because that's what that war is really about. Ew. Ooh, okay. And they were strong too, right? Look at that. That one got back. Before you had the superhero movies, you get it? Like Wonder Woman. Wait, wait. We just have to see that again. So people talking about how athletes look today and all of that. Could it be that that's already what it always was, but you have a few clowns or maybe messing the shit up? That's what I was saying. You might have those folks who want to say, "Oh well, we should be able to have that liberal everything and go there, even if it's beyond age, right? The moral codes and what we know as we're learning that we are Israelites is following those commandments, long so and all that. But here you are, and here we are today, and we're like, well, no, it's probably if especially if it's in front of the camera, have discernment. So let's just think deep for a second. Once again, welcome to the date. But look at this one, right? Oh yeah, I want to find it. I was okay. So let's start from the 3 seconds. Boom, bro. And that one just blew. You could do a lot with hair, right? Especially when it comes with long hair, like the hippies and what they call the back in the late '60s, which was probably even in its own time. That shit came out as what we call as we used to say gender bender, and then with the late '60s with David Bowie, the asexual. That's a fact. Look that shit up, right? And then of course it was they also the media put it out there, and we'll follow the Rocky Horror Picture Show if you ever want to look or look it up. You could probably do a study into it because I was having a research on it because this is not new. It's only because a lot of you babies out there are new, and so the media is like rehashing and telling you, oh yeah, well, woo, shock and awe, right? It's just some people are more obvious than others. Almost could be the great great grandmother of who's running around out there that looks like her. I don't even know the name. I don't want to go there, but the one who saw the president, your president, American president, yeah, looks just like the could be the great 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 great. Oh, and he's off. They off. Kill that shit. So, like, what were they doing before that? That's food for thought. So, like, that's the original OG on what we know today, of course, as the improved uh, market of the child and institutional school system. So you see, this kid here could have been somebody's great grand mom or and pop, dig, because he's part of that. Like they say, and look, they get it on camera. Who knows? He's probably running the world right now. They like they get. Let's hear that again. I feel that's very important because she's telling you how this shit got started, and through the mothers were able to give cultural treasures through fairy tales and hey, you can run a world or create a country like that, right? It's almost like hip hop 101, 101. That's the shit. That's why I say, hey, drop the hop. You could still go with the hop. It's going to be 50 in, like we said, 73. And that's an OG, according to me. And I'm not going to try to do any of that rap, right? But okay, there was a good time. In the early days, it got hijacked early when I was like, okay, so let's say in the early 80s, at least in North America, Canada, it was there for a minute, but the whole cultural mix of it, nobody wanted to be like an American. That's the facts. Like, look, we left slavery, the underground tunnel, and all that shit to get out of the States. So the last thing we wanted to be was like Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch, or the Dynamite, and then eventually the gangsta. But hey, that broke through all walls right now, right? It became a moniker, but all of that's biblical. But that's all part of the folks who, once again, do things in secret and all this garbage when you have more power in you. But they use these tools, and of course, we saw what hip hop became. Today, it's not existing as hip hop. Anyone that rapper that after how many years now, especially. Okay, so I was a teenager from that generation of the windmill, which was not, there was no, we didn't call it hip hop. You either had you breaking, you were doing graffiti. All of these things were different, entities until one bro, a couple of bros, put it together and say, let's give it a title and call it that for the period of the time. So that's where that whole thing goes deep, because a lot of this shit gets planned early, as you're seeing right here, my friends. Right? This is like an old thing here. How many of these kids, as you see in this whole documentary, grew up to be, well, maybe well-adjusted people, maybe, if they came into this world, right? Like, where are their parents? Well, their parents are their mothers who are learning to flip a freaking spear and throw disc, whip out disc and throw spears across the sky. And the father there learning to beat the fuck out of, his next best buddy in a gang fight, right? And shoot and get ready for war. So, yeah, the trauma's there. It's real, right? But today, that's been replaced. So that's the kind of shit, and it's also what's been put out there. But this is where we start off, and we could say when we're talking about privilege, right? That crazy word called privilege. No Negroes had access to do any of that shit. And while okay, it can be argued that Negroes Schwarzer are the Schwarzer, right? And yeah, whatever, what were they doing? How did they survive? So this, there's a whole little rabbit hole there. Once again, we're getting this on the camera, and they're telling you how they programmed or are programming this world. And these are the future folks who, by the 60s, they're going to be in their 20s. And as you see here in this doc, a lot of them are, well, they are now. You know what always amazes me with this footage is how many people pull up in this shit. Now, once again, it's about discernment. You gotta have. We're not gonna go into that. What the powers of the screen can do. Like you talk about computer graphics, right? That shit probably been around forever. Maybe. Let's just say, give this one the good of grace to say it could have not been that many people who wanted to do what they wanted to do, which was, take over the world, I guess. That free murder, free psychopathic, uh, programmed, instilled in their faces, saying, "Hey, you're gonna grow your kids up like this. This is how women should work and act and beautify, and this is how men should get ready to beat down." So where the fuck are the babies in that? Oh well, we got them. We're already showing them puppets. So where did the kids come? Doesn't matter. We're showing them puppets to grow up for the and their mother, who's also like that, what do you call Amazon? Anyway, but you see, there's real people there too. But look how they turned out, right? I always look for the Adam's apple. Even these folks here with their hippie thing here, what's this all about? Anyway, I have suspect also that a lot of these folks here weren't who they were supposed to be, because we know if you go on the internet, you see what actually went down, right? I mean, once again, you can believe in the fairy tales, or you can go and just like, hey, like what do they call them? FBI had shit going on in this, bro. They invented the code. Yeah, his hips are very big, actually. I'm just double checking that. Look at that. Lose this business, which is they're trying to say it's a new thing, and our teenagers are, "Ugh." Well, you see, it's starting to crack, because now maybe the first voice in a generation are starting to say, look, you know what? This is enough. We were born twisted, per se, in the sense that they were told that they came into this world and had to be who they were. So that why, you could, I mean, I could understand it. And then, whoops, and they all had them clothes, and wardrobe is a way to design. So anyway, just look at the background. Look at all these folks here. Look. Just like, let's say if I can find a face that matches like that, and look at that. That guy looks like he's Asian. All I'm just saying is have discernment. And there's no bros in at all. But that's a lot of people. So what happened to all these niggas out here? What like what happened to where they just died? I know they didn't just bomb the crap out of it. Or maybe they did. Have discernment. Because look what's going on today. They would even when you see the footage of what's going on today, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. But if you see what they've got going on today with that whole right? The footage is not like this. However, they're not showing the footage, not like we should see, right? For war crimes and all of that. So that's food for thought. Maybe it's more gruesome than even this generation. But once again, who's that nigga here? Like, where are these people now, right? But we can't blame them. We can only have discernment because that's where God is the judge. But could everybody have been in that whole brainwash at one step? And when they did that choreography of how to walk with the flags and all that shit, look at that shit. Now, how do you pull that shit off? And do black people do that? That's what I'm probably gonna call this segment. Do black people do that? No, I'm just saying it's enough even to like what? Wait, okay, let's just take a look. Thank you once again for tuning in to the date. Welcome back to the date. It is now 11:11 a.m. Today is the 8th of December 2022. And once again, you can check me out here on the date at Getter. I find it's one of the, if not the best of social media where you can actually get your information and get up to date. And it's just different. And different is not bad, because we know and we're starting to understand that a lot of the media has been suspect to a lot of what's been going on in the world, right? Because after all, especially the legacy, they're the ones who tell us everything, and so we've been conditioned for well over 100 years, whether it be by form of news and or even literature and everything else that is even in the academia that tells us what to believe. But yeah, I feel there's going to be big changes and challenges coming up with that, because a lot of folks are finally catching on to what I like to call it the Tower of Babylon really is, right? And like, look, you see what was happening here with the this film here that I heard. I've seen it actually. I did see the film. I heard it first, and then I looked it up, and hey, I mean, why aren't we covering this business, right? So I'm gonna pick a little bit on maybe the probabilities here that exist. And once again, this is for educational purposes. I'm not here to do anything legal or anything like that. But let's look at maybe some of the folks behind the scenes and who make things happen, right? Like for example, there's a gentleman by the name of Ted Turner, right? And he's the guy with CNN. So we hear a lot of stuff about the news and everything that it's just not coming out. They're just not telling us, right? And so people are like, well, what's going on? How is it that because we trust that, and I'm sure they're great people. But the facts are, let's say, physical, even if it comes in or if it comes around or if it's spoken in such a telepathic way, such as what television is, right? So I wanted to pick onto this because right now, in this great war of everything that's going on with the world, right? We all have, I always use the word discernment. We always have to have discernment about what we're taking in when it comes to information, what we're taking in even when it comes to media, even education, science, religion, any and everything. Once it's on what we call the camera, and I always like to pick on the camera. All the famous people in the world, they always get them with the camera in their baby picture, so you kind of think, well, wait a minute, maybe they were destined. But I won't go there. But the whole point is that we need to reevaluate. And this is going to be part of, if any war is going to go down, it's going to start with that. With reevaluating our whole system of what is news, television, film, radio, music, media, photography, art, even, believe it or not, right? Because art is pretty much what brought us around even to what we see. Look, we still have naked babies peeing out there, statues, right? Does everybody ever wonder, like, what, maybe we shouldn't, maybe, but they'll say, no, it's history. Okay, well, who put those naked baby and why do we put those naked baby statues everywhere? Right? So we've been so far removed and desensitized from a lot of shit. And then you'll have people say, oh, well, if, it's history and you're trying to, whatever they call it, we're trying to not be open minded. So now it's like a reverse thing. We're in a total bizarre world where they'll say we're the ones who are crazy and liar and all of that. And while like, hey, I'm for art, but maybe art also can be challenged. We can put that baby in a museum now, right? It doesn't have to be out in the freaking public. That's what's really, it's common sense challenges that we have in this world right now. Because what we've been, I like the expression back in the day. I believe was it one of the Bushes, I believe. Or I heard it was during the war. Let's bomb them back to, bomb them back to the Stone Ages. So here we are. We're in the Stone Ages, literally, right? Because we lost 2 years. And so therefore, but in between that time, a lot of the information we're getting, right? Mm, dicey at best. We know for sure that the world fell under a lockdown and was subscribed to getting uh, great health advice from our top officials. who were, of course, educated in some of the best schools to help us get through this. So, and get through the tough times that are here. But here's my thing. This is my biggest takeaway. I don't believe that God, in the big picture of things, says, I'm going to put disease all over the world. I'm going to put C-19 in this world, right? And we're going to get everybody sick, and then they don't have to believe in me no more, right? They don't have to like me no more because I am the bad guy. I am the devil, right? Even though we know for the fact God is God, God is the great. God even created Michael, his angel, and Michael got jealous, right? So here we are, and we're thinking, oh, it's all going to be okay. No, 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 maybe not. Because even though we have and we do have a choice to believe, let's say, or not believe, or be an atheist or whatnot, the facts are it's going beyond that. So now it's become so ingrained even within the world of things. Let's not even let's not even go there with religion, right? Because religion, well, forget about that. It's a man-made thing. We all got that. So what's next? So we're under attack. Let's I would say under the because of Yeshua, right? I mean, people are like, okay, now they're saying he's trans. Now they're saying, because they can't cope with him, like just even being a bro from Ethiopia. No, forget about that. He's got to be even trans. Okay, how about if he's a trans brother from Utopia or whatever? No, they're not going to go for that. They're not going to go for that. They're going to say, no, he's trans and he happens to have blonde hair and a beard. You know what? That anyway. Don't get me there, but I could say when you have folks like Buck Angel out there, and once again, as I was saying in most of my posts, the reverse, inverse, reverse world, right? You'll have the people who are, as we say, I feel, if anything, at least 50-50 popular, well, maybe, depending where you live, right? Depending where and what town, what country, right? But I would say in some places it's like 50, maybe 60, nearly, because of the how the laws are set up in politics and the media and the art and the education we get, which is now a very liberal thing, beyond liberal, right? That we can accept and say, well, it's not a big deal, right? Just like the naked babies peeing statues, all that nudity out there, right? That alone in the history of the world crosses the line and makes it accessible for everything and anything else to go. Whether it be like, what do they call it, man boy or whatever the world is, word is it map? I no, not map. Is it? I can't recall. But they have all these new freaking expressions now for all this love, right? And even though it might not really be love, but it's lust. So here we are, right? We're the folks here who are trying to say, okay, do we have any moral fiber? Well, part of the world says, you know what? It doesn't matter because hey, God is okay, so vengeful, so hateful. All right, God's gonna give us diseases, and man is gonna do better than God. And man, you don't need God because man could be the one we can bring back. I'm not going to use that word. We can bring pathogens and medicines because we're so great because we invented the painkiller. Hey, that's good. Good things still. All right. That's the light bearer who does that for us. The light bearer does good things from the light bearer. But the molek angle of what's going on, there's some food for thought, and that's the whole crew that's saying, okay, the molecular. I call them molecular, molek, right? They like to say, hey, it's all good, because hey, let's confuse the world and say, well, God's not that great. God is what God is. Yeah, he does some. He helps you make life. You know what? Today we can make life, right? We can put the sperm and the egg in a tube, and we can create you. And you know what? You don't even have to be man or woman anymore, as it was written in the beginning of Genesis, right? Just like we could be like the people before Adam and Eve, the people who were in the garden that we're not supposed to fuck with. Yeah. So here we are now with the media and everything, and that's part of it, the education and everything else. So that big, I call it even the Goliath, the big, getting the stone in the middle of the temple there, right, right, right in between the we call the pituitary, right? The what do you call that gland there? Not even, is it the gland? Well, we could say the pituitary, but that calcified, uh, that point, the point of everything being our calcified pituitary gland, pretty much, right? But the third eye, as we call it, if I stand corrected, but that third eye still is what, literally the big brother is that third eye that's watching us, that Goliath. Who, well, will there be a David to take it down? We don't know. But one thing I can say for sure is, especially after the Second World War, especially with the, I would say, appropriation of what became and what is still today propaganda, using fear and psychological methods, psychiatric trips, right, to get deep in your bones. Well, let's take a look at some of the people that make that happen. And maybe, and once again, this is just throwing it out there because I decided, like, particularly I wanted to pick on a gentleman by the name of Mr. Ted Turner. Now, so Mr. Ted Turner, Robert Edward Ted Turner the third, born November 19th, 1938, is an American entrepreneur, television producer, media proprietor, and philanthropist. I love philanthropists because those are the folks with the money, and they put money into things anyway. He founded the cable news network, CNN, right? Right here. You all know the drill. The first 24-hour cable news channel. In addition, he founded WTBS, which pioneered the superstation concept in cable television, which later became TBS, right? You call it, is an American paid television network owned by Warner Brothers Discovery US Networks division of Warner Brothers Discovery. It carries a variety of programming with a focus on comedy, along with some sports events, right? Keep your mind occupied. So when they call that the superstation, this is something that happened in the 90s, right? Is a term in North American broadcasting that has several meanings. Commonly, a superstation is a form of a distant signal, a broadcast television signal, usually a commercially licensed station that is retransmitted via communication satellite or microwave relay multi-channel television. So I'm going to do a post on television and the world of that because television has been around for a long time, Negroes. All right, this is your bro. So, as a philanthropist, he gave 1 billion to create the United Nations Foundation, charitable organization headquartered in Washington that supports the United Nations and its activities. It was established in 1998 with a $1 billion gift to the United Nations by this bro. Right? So I encourage you guys to read and take a look. I know because not everyone can read, right? And there is a lot of dyslexia. I'll give you what you can. And if you can read, right, I implore you to look this stuff up. Additionally, in 2001, Turner co-founded the Nuclear Threat Initiative. So what the, you know? So generally referred as NTI, it's a nonprofit organization located in Washington, D.C. The American Foreign Policy think tank was founded in 2001 by former U.S. Senator Sam Nunn. Okay? And so don't forget, these spots are always nonprofit, always. So give it up to them for keeping it up and so, but once again, we're back here with the nuclear thing, right? So let's see here. Let's look at a little. Us, right? We always like, who your mama? So, and even before we'll get to the dates and all that, Turner's media empire began with his father's billboard business. So his dad used to do this billboard, right? That billboard thing. That's what advertising media. Turner Outdoor Advertising, which he took over in 1963. So that's a minute. That's over 50 years after his father's suicide. Ah, I didn't know that. It was worth 1 million. Condolences to his family. His purchase of Atlanta UHF. Stationed in 1970, began the Turner Broadcasting System. So, UHF, we used to have VHS, was it VH? Oh my God, it's been that long. VHF and UHF, if I'm correct. But that you kids don't know what that is. But that, okay, VHS or VHF was channels like the major players, CBS, NBC, ABC. Those were the VHF channels, and UHF was kind of the more funky but good educational channels. Those were like the Channel 33s, the PBS, right? And maybe a few dirty ones too, if you were lucky. But anyway, so yeah, ultra high frequency is the ITU designation for radio frequencies in the range between 300 megahertz and right. So, but this is old. Well, still, every I always say, old technology is still technology. Like the transistor radio, right? I highly implore get yourself a transistor. Maybe there's something to that. They're trying to turn us into transistor people. Okay, so in 1970 began Turner Broadcasting System. So he popped up that business. This is something to say about life, eh? Because we didn't even get his age yet. Turner, yeah. So American television and media conglomerate founded by this guy. So yeah, it merged with Time Warner on October 10th, 1996, and as of April 2022, its assets are now owned by Warner Brothers. Okay, Warner Brother. So yeah, so they covered stuff, and then CNN revolutionized news media covering the space shuttle challenge disaster, right? And there are some thoughts about that whole thing. The Persian Gulf War, 1991. Yes, that's what really took off for CNN. I remember anyway. Turned the Atlanta Braves baseball team, right? He did that business, including the 1995 World Series. So what a great thing, doing great things and mouth of the South. That's what they call him, Captain Outrageous. Environmental causes, right? So this is good. But let's see, early life. So he was born in November 19th, happy belated, 1938 in Cincinnati, Ohio, the son of Florence Nee Rooney and Robert Edward Turner II, a billboard magnate. I like how they put these words in here. A magnet. A magnet, the magnet term from the late Latin magnus, a great man. Itself from Latin magnus, great, means a man from the higher nobility, a man who belongs to the high office holders, or a man in a high social position by birth, wealth, or other qualities in Western Christian countries. All right. So when he was 9, his family moved to Savannah, Georgia, and raised him as an Episcopalian. Yeah, that's one of those churches, right? Religion. He attended the McCallie School, Boys College School, 1905. You gotta go deep because they go deep with us, right? Even though those people in the top percent, they surmise how we should be and how we are. Let's see what these people are. Okay, yeah, 250 boarding. Let's digging deep in grades 9, 12, 600. Okay, so back in the day, so that's a lot of people who come from that school who do shit. Okay, private boys school. You know how that turns out. All right, so then university initially majored in classics, right? The classics, all these people, right? Western Greco. His father wrote saying that this choice made him appalled, even horrified. How did his father end up writing that shit and where? He was somebody. And that he almost puked. So there's your trauma right there, folks. You see? There it is. His pop spin handle that he wanted to get into maybe classics, maybe on his feminine side. You get what I'm saying? Turner twist twist. Turner later changed his major to economics because he just like fuck piss off, right? Before receiving a degree, he was expelled. What? The bad boy, eh? For having a female student in his dormitory room. Of course, Turner was awarded an honorary BA from Brown University in 1989 when he returned to campus to give keynote address for, yeah, the National Association of College Broadcasters. So after leaving Brown University, Turner returned to the South in late '60 to become the general manager of Mason, Georgia, or Macon, Georgia's branch of his father's business, following his father's suicide in 1963. So that's a minute. And why did his dad do that? Why did his dad do that? What a weird thing. Turner became president and executive chief of Turner Advertising when he was just 24. So can you imagine being 24 back then? Just like record executives, right? Because I noticed there's a lot of, well, the ones that are still around, record executives who have created the careers of people and folks. Think about that. And these are all what we call boomers, post-war babies. Anyway, let's continue. So, Turner became president of the Turner Advertising. So, after his father's suicide, I imagine, and then turned the firm into a global enterprise, he joined Young Republicans. Okay, that's cool. That was back then, too. That was a different vibe back then. Saying he felt at ease among these budding conservatives was merely following in his father's far right footsteps, right? According to It Ain't Easy as It Looks. So you could always look up that book. Maybe it's probably out there. So during the Vietnam War era, Turner's business prospered. It had virtual monopolies, okay, in all these places. It was the largest outdoor advertising company in the Southeast. Hmm. So there's a little bit more. Um, the book observed that Turner discovered his father had sheltered a substantial amount of taxable income over the years by personally lending it back to the company. I don't know if that's fraud. Anyway, and discovered that the billboard business could be a gold mine, a tax depreciable revenue stream that threw off enormous amounts of cash with almost no capital investment. So right there, you get how a lot of this really grew, right? Because the media is very, it's strong, but once again, it's like the pull of a plug, right? And we're so used to it. In 100 years, that's at least a grandmother away, literally, that it is part of our life, just like with our devices and social media, which is they're having their own little battle between each other. Social media, which is like television, pretty much like right, what we're broadcasting now, and the old monopoly of media, which we could still say is like the television, but most people don't really watch television like they used to, right? So these guys made a lot of this happen. So in the late 60s, he began buying several southern west radio stations. In 1969, he sold his radio stations to buy a struggling television station. You see, that was going on up until the 90s. A lot of us didn't even like. I was a student in communications, and I remember they were like that was the second wind of trying to get people to buy cable in the Fox years. And yeah, Mill, yeah, UF. So he bought UHF Channel 17, right? At the time, US UHF stations did well only in markets without VHF station. Okay, so yeah, I was right. VHF, very high frequency, right? So was the ITU designation, and so that was yeah. So that's the power people, like Fresco, California, and markets with only one station on VHF. Yeah, so that would be it. Independent UHF stations were not ratings winners. This is a good point. So that's always about independent media, right? Or that profit will even in larger markets. But he concluded that this would change as people wanted more than several choices. And he was right. He still is right. Right? He's talking about just the three conglomerates. But now social media is pulling that on him because he probably thought long term, and we'll see what he thought the future should have been. It still could be, but this is the challenge right now between social media and the old school legacy of news and media. So he changed the call sign to, yeah, okay. So watch this channel grow. I'm just kind of buzzed through, right? Because, at least we're getting a little communications course here. Initially, the station ran old movies from prior decades along with theatrical cartoons and bygone sitcoms and drama programs. So that was a good way to actually set up a struggling station. See, I'm even learning this now. If I had known then, which I didn't learn. As a better syndicated product fell, off the VHF stations, Turner would acquire it for a station at a low price. You know that could still happen if you know what you're doing. Okay, so they would including fare like Gilligan's Island, I Love Lucy, Star Trek. So these shows, even by then, even like let's say, I would say the late 60s, 70s, people were watching them, but the syndication was waning. It was kind of not the same by the late 70s, right? Like who's watching Hazel? Like that, who still watches that shit? But there's a lot of shows that were like that, right? And even Bugs Bunny was all in love, was like big horror. Bugs is like a big horror everywhere, right? Low cost content, and there, yeah. So then you'd have your independent reading news at 3 a.m. Get it? We have 100% share. So I don't want to flow into this, but this tells you about how the technology of things happen. CNN in '78, he contacted media executive Reese Schoenfield, right? So this guy, he co-founded with Ted Turner in 1980 and went on to establish the Food Network. Did you know that? So these guys tried to get this going on since 1977, but he was rebuffed. So it goes to show, you can always, if you get rebuffed, you can make it happen. So done with the staff at 300. It's always 300. They use the electronic. Yeah, they brought in the electronic newsroom for a change because a lot of them were old school and satellite. So yeah, so basically that's how he made that shit happen. But here's the thing: the Turner Doomsday Video. So let's take a little look into this, what this was all about, right? Because there's other stuff about how the merger went and how things happened. However, this is him back in the '70s. This is how he, how he's doing today, right? Still in the house. He and this is the thing. That whole thing with the controversy. Not only that, he controversial comments even prior to all of that gives you a little tune in as to at least how some of these folks think. So controversial comments. Turner once called observers of Ash Wednesday Jesus freaks, though he apologized. Dubbed opponents of abortion bozos. Hmm. A joke about Polish mine detectors when asked about that. Yeah, whatever. Turner accused Israel of terror. The Palestinians are fighting with human suicide bombers. That's all they have. The Israelis, they've got one of the most powerful military machines in the world. Palestinians have nothing. So who are the terrorists? I would make a case that both sides are involved in terrorism. And he apologized for that in 2011 about the 9/11 hijackers, but also defended himself. Look, I'm a very good thinker. Yeah. All right. And he's also, if steps are not taken to address global warming, most people would die and the rest of us would be cannibals. So I'm always wondering, like, so I guess this is when we say when the good people, yeah, he's a good guy, he's got some good, but then they pull this talk, and they pull shit, right? And they say shit, and it's like, wait a minute, why is that what you really? That's what you really think, right? But he, of course, now Turner has been regarded as one of the entrepreneurs who transformed the cable industry, facts, and being referred to as Alexander the Great of broadcasting. So we got a little look here, yes, and his peep, his boo at the time was Jane Fonda. I believe they divorced a while ago, right? The commissioner's trophy, yes, he got that. So there's some good story here, right? He's 84 now, straight up, like he's like Rupert Murdoch and all of them people, And this guy, yeah, he's another one. We're gonna hit on him because he's 20%, and he's also part of what's going on and with the information you're getting. But these guys, they're quiet. We don't hear anything. We don't hear anything about these folks, right? So that's what I'm saying. If something's gonna shake up, it's gonna be shaken up with these bros right here. That's why I'm just hitting this for a minute, right? Thank you once again for tuning in to the date. Bro.
I believe that was the thing. It was my father taught me that too.
What's possible? Tell me what's
It's
possible to do.
that in 15 or 20 years we can completely redo it. If we have to mobilize, this is how important it is, and how important that we do it quickly. We have to mobilize the same way we did when we entered World War II in 1941. We have to fully mobilize everything we have and put it into changing the energy system over. And not just here in the United States, but all over the world. It's going to be the biggest business project in the history of the world. Fortunes, billions of dollars are going to be made. Hundreds of thousands of people are going to be employed. We're going to have clean air. We're going to have so many benefits from it. It's not going to cost us anything. Once we get going with it, it's not going to cost us anything. Only the people that don't understand it think it's going to. Not doing it will be catastrophic. We'll have 8 degrees. We'll be 8 degrees hotter in 10, not 10, but in 30 or 40 years. And basically, none of the crops will grow. Most of the people will have died, and the rest of us will be cannibals. Civilization will have broken down. What the few people who are left will be living in a failed state like Somalia or Sudan. And living conditions will be intolerable. The droughts will be so bad there'll be no more corn growing. Not doing it is suicide. Just like.
So you heard that, eh? So not doing it is suicide. I mean, hey, they bring great things. However, when you have to think about it, it's like, why would you guys go so drastic? But hey, he owns the freaking network that he's talking to, so he could talk that shit, right? Let's just hear that again.
It is suicide. Just like dropping bombs on each other, nuclear weapons is suicide. So we've got to stop doing the two suicidal things. Not doing it is suicide. Just like dropping bombs on each other, 30 or 40 years, and basically none of the crops will grow. Most of the people will have died, and the rest of us will be cannibals. Civilization will have broken down. What the few people who are left will be living in a failed state like Somalia or Sudan, and living conditions will be intolerable. The droughts will be so bad there'll be no more corn growing. Not doing it is suicide. Just like dropping bombs on each other, nuclear weapons is suicide. So we've got to stop doing the two suicidal things, which are hanging on to our nuclear weapons
and global.
And then after that, we've got to stabilize the population. When I was born, there were
what's wrong with the population? I mean,
with too many people. That's why we have global warming. We have global warming because too many people are using too much stuff.
So too many people are farting. I've heard about this argument about cows farting too much, and cars farting in its own emissions, right? And so, but these folks, they put the money to make this shit happen. So once again, it's always about that God thing, right? We're saying, well, God's not smart enough to figure out global warming. And even though he's created us, we have free will, we're still sinners and we're born in sin. And plus, however we come into this world, which is probably not natural, right? We're saying that we can call the world as it is because we have been brought into this world through trauma. I wouldn't be surprised if many of them have that sort of complex, right? Because the only difference is Jesus did not buy into what the devil said. He said, yay, if you just hook up with me, you can have it all. And he said, no. But a lot of these folks, hey, you know what? I'm not hearing, hence Satan away from me. Nah, they're talking about suicide, we're going to die, and it's all of this stuff. So it's interesting food for thought, right? Because, you think Jesus didn't say that. But once again, they're trying to say, oh, it's you guys, it's us, the useless eaters who eat shit, and we stink up the world. You croak, you die, it stinks. Yeah, hell stinks. I've been hearing. Apparently, they say it's sulfuric, right? You can't breathe in hell, right? But we're here on Earth with free oxygen. We're already stinking it up to be like hell. That's what they're saying, and we're like, well, maybe it's true. I don't know. God's not smart enough because, hey, God put us in the world. And you know what? Since we're so wicked, we're going to let folks like that say, hey, you know what? We've got to do this. We've got to change your destiny. We've got to tell you. And this is worldwide. It's not just him, right? I mean, whether it be concentration camps in Asia or whatnot. And even then, you have to have discernment, right? How factual is all the fear mongering just semantics?
But
If there were less people, they'd be using less stuff. If we don't get global warming and the nuclear weapons straightened out, we don't have to worry about human rights. The humans will all be gone.
Okay. Do you think we'll do it? I mean, are you optimistic in the end that that the world will come to its senses?
On behalf of my grandchildren and the children all over the world, I absolutely think we got to do it. But I have a way of explaining it very simply. I see the human situation I liken to a baseball game. Do the right things. It's time for smart political leaders. No more dummies. We can't afford dumb leadership.
Join us online at charlierose.com.
Right. So as rumor had it, as we're seeing from that clip, the billionaire founder of CNN, Ted Turner, a man as known for his eccentricities as for his wealth and media legacy, had called for the preparation of a video to air in the event of nuclear holocaust. The legend has circulated for decades, boosted by Turner's own words in June 1980 when he said, "We're going to go on air June 1st and we're going to stay on until the end of the world. When that time comes, we'll cover it. Play Nearer My God to Thee and sign off." In a 1988 interview with the New Yorker, Turner spoke about how the tape was made. Normally, when a television station begins and ends the broadcast day, it signs on and off by playing the national anthem. So just before I continue, we always know folks want to say, well, show us the proof of where this was said. So I'll turn to the New Yorker, September 12th, 1988 issue. Donovan Webster, September 4th, 1988. And in the article here, it says, talk story about a sign-off tape made by Ted Turner. Now, might not be real, might not be true, I don't know. But let's see. Head of CNN in the event of nuclear war wondered what was on the tape. What did Mr. Turner think America wanted to hear as it prepared for incineration? Incineration, man! We need to totally disarm, Mr. Turner told us. Because just as with guns, if you got nuclear weapons, you're eventually going to use them. Normally, when a television station begins and ends the broadcast day, it signs on and off by playing the national anthem, he said. But with CNN, a 24-hour-a-day channel, we would only sign off once. And I knew what that would mean. So we got the combined armed forces marching bands together, the Army, Navy, Marine, and Air Force bands, and Prasad took them out to the old CNN headquarters, and we had them practice the national anthem for a videotaping. Then, as things cranked up, I asked if they played Nearer to God to Thee, put on the videotape just in case the world ever came to an end, by the way. Yeah. That would be the last thing CNN played before we signed off. And I tell you, those guys in the military bands knew what I was up to. He began to play the tape. I can't watch this without getting tears in my eyes, Mr. Turner said, and he left the room tossing his hands in the air. We watched and listened as the band completed the hymn. The hymn. When it was over in about a minute, the band members snapped their instruments down to parade the rest, and the screen went dark. Mr. Turner came back into the office. Pretty strong, huh? He said, I keep this tape around because when the world ends, it'll be over, and over before we can say what we wanted to say, before we can leave any final messages. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah, I want to read it with a little flavor because this shit is there if you want to read it. I know I probably have to subscribe and, get in there once again to share it again. The apocalypse will be live. CNN's mythical end of the world video is real, right? So this is the Guardian telling you this shit, right? And they're telling you, back in the day. So you can always look this stuff up if you're really curious to see what the facts are, right? Because it's there. So much there that, hey, is this going to happen? Because obviously now with all this talk of nuclear this, nuclear that, right? I mean, it's a minute. Look at that, right? That's the issue right there. So I'm just giving maybe a heads up. Maybe the angels are saying, you know what? Let the world know what time it is, right? Because that could be also that the narration, even, like I was thinking about the Ten Commandments, right? Remember when everybody's seen Charlton Heston and how that shit went down? And we hey, we still with it, admit it, until they make a Ten Commandments, right? Like with a bro. There's a concept there, but we ain't seen it yet. Until that shit happens, right? You dig? We always gonna believe what the narrative is being bestowed upon us. Food for thought, wouldn't you say? I'd say so, Jethro.
I was in my plane.
Right.
The State Department's on fire.
How the fire started there. Was anything else happening in New York? Is there another fire?
One of the two towers.
One of the towers fell?
From the point where it was hit.
That's why the smoke's on the barrel.
And we had some people, CNN people who were on time for who may have been hit by the building.
They were down there on the street.
She was the mayor during the World Trade Center bombing. She was a former deputy mayor. Andy Mastro. The deputy mayor.
Someone call you so we can find Mark. He needs to get back here.
Alex already. Are you in the street? Right now.
All the office buildings around, including the Treasury Department.
That's right from the top.
We're breaking. I told them to break everything and say
The national desk, the Sears Tower in Chicago has not been evacuated. Repeat, has not been evacuated.
What the
Apparatus showing up now as we speak. We saw most of the senior staff come out. We have not seen the national security staff that we would recognize anyway, but I should know there are other cases in the White House. We are on the north side.
sirens.
Hold on. Do it now. Do it now.
Here in New York joins us on the phone. Alan, where are you?
Jennifer Westover also just arrived. She was closer to the building. I'm just about maybe Jennifer tells me she's closer to the building.
Is he talking about it now?
You're yelling, run, run.
Where's the tape? The ground tape from New York.
It's in X. New York also has it. 28.
New York is showing something to us.
They're gonna roll it. Roll it.
Some people have told us
We're on tape here. Here's your live.
A little bit at the beginning.
You can go to Aaron because he's got.
This is Aaron. Hold on. Ready, Browder? 10. Stand by to advance.
10 to 15 blocks north of the World Trade Center.
Advance. Okay, show me Aaron, please.
We need the tape of the ground shots. Moved up. Where?
We can't put any new numbers in.
We had that from an hour ago.
He's right over there. Hopefully somebody's blowing it.
Why we can use it. That's the one.
It's now been evacuated. Again, the UN has been evacuated.
Make sure you heard about that plane in the air. Pentagon says another plane in the air in D.C. Make sure you heard. We got it. 31 is a CNN Pentagon shot. You see helicopters circling the area.
In Pennsylvania for United Airlines. I've got it. We have confirmation from United that one of their passenger planes, United Flight 93, has crashed in Pennsylvania. It was a Newark, San Francisco flight. 93. Crashed in Pennsylvania.
That was the one who asked if we did.
Newark to San Francisco, and I don't know the number of the plane.
Airport.
Federal building has been evacuated or is in process of being evacuated. And then plane has crashed in Pennsylvania. Now, I don't...
Okay, we're going to the air right now with United Airlines.
Didn't turn it over to terrorists.
Patty's got it. All right.
We can't
Mike.
Yeah, but
Give Patty the story.
yeah. Now we are getting...
Circle that you shouldn't set your goals so you can attain them, because that's a mistake.
Yeah, that's what my father told me.
And you feel that even though you've accomplished all of these things, that you still are operating under that?
I've got a lot to do yet.
Yeah. What else do you want to do?
I want to improve the quality of television and use communications to make the world, the people of the world, smarter and more peaceful. And instead of tearing everything down, I want to build things up.
Let's start with how you want to improve TV, because
we're doing it. You know, with more informative news programming on the cable news network and documentary programs dealing with population, soil erosion, atomic war, and programs that glorify the work ethic and the family and hard work.
Now, give me an example of if you tomorrow were going to put on one of your network facilities, cable facilities, an entertainment show. What would it be?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with entertainment, but I don't think that violence should be used to get ratings, because it has a big effect on the young people in the country. And you got to have a little violence, but I think there's way too. Well, I mean, because there is violence in life, but I think an entertainment show, I think this show looks okay.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you once again for tuning in on the date. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And hey, you know what? We'll keep saying our prayers and we'll keep sending the love out there, because you remember, you matter. And God is not a bad God. God is a good God. And we just have to put our heart where it really does matter. And yeah, we're going to be in a situation now where we're going to have to maybe even swallow a lot of egos and get used to the readaptation that we're going to have at some point, right? Because Right now, at least, we are being convinced, whether it be illustrative or inanimate way, of how to live in a matrix that is being created by simple people like you and myself. We'll be right back.